Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I am building wealth in 2022. Now, although there are multiple ways to look at health, in this video, I'm specifically looking at this through a financial lens. One of the main motivations of starting this channel was actually putting out good financial content, or at least sharing my financial learnings with you guys. And it's been a while since I've made a financial video, so this is really overdue. If you've been a long-time watcher of my videos, you may also know that I am familiar with the concept of FIRE. If you don't know what FIRE is, FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, and it's a movement where a lot of millennials and Gen Z have resonated with strongly because we all feel like we don't want to be working until the age of 65. We want to be able to enjoy our lives now while we still have our bodies in top condition. Now, I personally am not as interested in the retire early part as I am with the financial independence part, because once I achieve financial independence, I have the option to retire or the option to continue working, or at least working at a job that I would actually enjoy. After having experiences where I've been in jobs where I didn't really enjoy work versus jobs that I actually do enjoy doing work, I realized that even after I hit financial independence, I would probably still want to be dedicating some of my energy towards some specific cause, and that could be whatever job that I decide to pick. While the idea of spending weeks or months lying around on a beach doing nothing sounds enticing, I feel like that would get old pretty quickly. And the idea of that is not something I really want to get old. On my journey to FIRE, there are typically two principles that I've maintained throughout my entire financial journey. So I really started getting into finance around 2020 when everything was closed up, and I thought, you know what? I have nothing better to do. Why not just go watch a lot of financial videos on YouTube or TikTok or whatever social media and just try to read up as much as I can. And since then, it's been very important to me to acquire as much knowledge as I can so I can make the best financial decisions for myself and eventually hit my financial goals. So to reach financial independence, you need to hit a net worth where your investments will actually cover your living expenses. To calculate your FIRE number, all you have to do is calculate your living expenses and then multiply that by 25. So let's say your living expenses are $40,000 a year. If you multiply that by 25, that's $1 million. And you would need $1 million to retire. If you have more expensive tastes like I do, I would probably want to retire with at least $2.5 million so I can actually live off $100,000 per year. So what are some actionable steps that I took to get closer to that FIRE number? Well, if you put it very simply, there are really only two things that you can do. You can increase your income or decrease your living expenses. People typically like to focus on the first part of the equation, which is, a good thing, but you can't neglect decreasing your expenses as well. There's a lot of financial advice out there saying that you shouldn't buy your lattes or you shouldn't buy this or that. But my recommendation, my personal recommendation, this is not financial advice, is that you should buy things that bring you joy. Like, focus on what exactly is important to you and you can splurge on that. Well, if there are other things that you may not be as interested in or you may not consider as important, you don't have to spend money on those. So an example for me would be luxury or designer clothing. It's not something that I'm particularly interested in and not something I would really spend my money on. And I would much rather use my money to spend on experiences like going somewhere on vacation or flying out of the country maybe once things open back up. So I'm not afraid to spend money on what I think matters most to me. Now, of course, this also means saying no to a lot of things because your friends may be interested in going to a techno concert and that may not necessarily be for you. So it may be in your best interest to politely decline. An important part of building wealth is actually your habits and your self-awareness. This means knowing your weaknesses, knowing your triggers, what gets you to spend your money, and if there's a way to stop yourself from doing that, or at least impulsively buying, how can you do that? The past couple years for me have been a lot of soul searching and figuring out what exactly is important to me so that I can actually use my money to spend towards something that I actually care about. Now let's say you have a lot of interests and hobbies and you want to be able to spend money on all of them. If you have the income to do that, then that's great. But if you want to decrease whatever expenses that you have, you might want to look at what contributes to your expenses the most. Is it the amount of rent that you're paying? Is it your food and groceries? Is it your transportation? The point is, if you have a limited amount of income, you kind of have to do a little bit of give and take between what you want versus what you need. And maybe sometimes expenses aren't the problem. Maybe it is because you don't have a big enough income. And if you want to increase your income, then there are a couple things that you can do. One is that you can actually get a new job that pays significantly more. The Great Resignation is very real, and now finally the power is coming back to the employees and the workers. So as companies are competing for talent, they're going to be upping their pay, they're going to be willing to give more benefits and make themselves competitive as a place to work. Now, as a worker, you can use this to your advantage to command a bigger price for how much you're willing to be paid to work for them. This is something that I've done recently, and I was able to get a good pay bump because of just switching jobs. There are studies online that show that if you were to switch a job every 2 or 3 years, you are more likely to make more than someone who just stays at a job for a longer period of time. So if you've been at a job for 2 or 3 more years without any pay raise or promotion, then it might be worth looking at the job market and seeing what's out there. Now, to be honest, my financial strategy from 2021 and 2022 aren't that different because I've always held these same principles. But the difference between 2021 and 2022 is that I have this new job, and with this job comes with better benefits. 2 of these major benefits that I've received are the 401k and the HSA account. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with these, a 401k is an employer-sponsored retirement account where you can contribute your income pre-tax or post-tax and save for retirement. Sometimes an employer will even offer employer matching, which means that if you contribute X amount or X% of your income towards your 401k, your company will contribute the same amount or maybe half the amount or whatever it is. If there is some degree of matching, you want to take advantage of it because it is free money. In my case, my employer does not have a match yet, but I'm still pretty thrilled to just have an account where I can contribute money to and know that there is going to be tax advantages to it. Now, if you have money to spare after paying all of your expenses and maybe paying off your high interest debt, definitely contribute to a 401k. Now, the HSA account is an even bigger game changer for me because it has more tax advantages than a 401k or a Roth IRA. The HSA stands for Health Savings Account, and even though its purpose is towards your medical expenses, people tend to use it as more of an investment vehicle. And this is because of the triple tax advantage. The first advantage is that your earnings will go into an HSA pre-tax, so you don't have to pay taxes from your income. Then your money will grow tax-free, which is the second advantage. And the third one is that when you withdraw from your HSA, you won't have to pay taxes. Versus a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k, you will have to pay taxes once you withdraw. And because this is such a powerful tool, there is a contribution limit to the HSA. It's only about $3,600 a year or so, compared to a 401k, which is about $20,500, or an IRA or Roth IRA, which is about $6,000 a year. So if you are maxing out your Roth IRA, your 401k, and your HSA, you're probably saving about $27,000-ish per year that all have some sort of tax advantage to them. Versus if you just opened a regular traditional brokerage account like with Fidelity or Charles Schwab, there's a lot of money that you might be missing out on because you're paying taxes. Now, if you can't max out all 3 of these accounts, that's completely okay. I think it's very unrealistic to expect a lot of 20-somethings with not that much disposable income to put all their money into an investment account where they probably won't be able to use the money for at least decades. The point of me sharing these accounts with you guys is just that so you have the knowledge, and once you have those extra few dollars that you're willing to invest, you put them in those accounts, forget about them, let them grow, and years from now, you'll be very thankful that you decided to deposit just a small amount of money in the first place. That's kind of my goal with these accounts. I want to just continue investing by buying into whatever ETFs that are recommended to me and hold and forget about them. Now you might be thinking that investing is just so much work and you don't have enough time to do it. Well, the great thing is that I just set up my 401k and my HSA both in a matter of minutes. It probably didn't even take me 20 minutes to enroll in both of those accounts and start investing. So the next time I have to really think about changing my contribution limits or anything like that is probably way in the future. So basically all of my upfront work is done for now. All I have to do is check in on my investments periodically and just see how I'm doing. Building wealth and investing is meant to be a slow burn, and it's going to take a few years at least to really start seeing some results. And it's okay if you feel discouraged at the beginning. Just know that these feelings or the number that you see on that account balance right now isn't indicative of what your future net worth will look like. And yes, there is a little bit of sacrifice involved. I really think it's worth it in the end. Just don't get to a point where you're sacrificing too much of your present moment, where you can't enjoy your life now at all because all of your money is tied up in an investment account. Like, you don't want that to happen to you. You want to still be able to enjoy things, so have a little play money. That's kind of my blueprint for how I'm going to spend my money or save my money and invest it. And I hope it was helpful to you at least, so you may have one or two things that you can take away from this. I hope this video was helpful to you guys, and if there's anything you would like to know more, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, take it easy.